I'm Debbie Boatright.
David Boatright.
I was actually taken from my mom when I was a toddler, and I was taken by my dad, who was a traveling evangelist who preached about a God that was all hellfire and brimstone, no mercy and no grace. He was kind of heavy-handed, and it was kind of a tough time. But after a few years, my mom found us. I didn't remember her by then, but was glad to get away from the situation. So a little while later, I was placed in the care of someone that no little girl should have been, and went through some things there. When I was 13, my mother disappeared, and she actually had a nervous breakdown and ended up in a hospital, but I didn't know that. I just knew she was gone. But she was a bartender, and I was the only one at home. And so she worked nights and she stashed her cash, so I knew to put money in an envelope for utilities and rent, and I just lived there by myself until I was 16, and then I got married. Thought it was time to not be alone anymore. Really became a survivor making monumental mistakes. Got married at 16, got pregnant, had my first son at 18. After he was born, I realized I had someone that would love me no matter what, and that I could love no matter what. So I got a divorce. It wasn't really working out well, so I went on and continued my life as a single mom. Got married again a few years later. He was abusive to my oldest boy, though, so I left him. After I left him, I found out I was pregnant. So I had heard of an organization that helped women in crisis pregnancy called Planned Parenthood. And so I went to them to see what kind of help I could find. I was thinking help finding a better job or housing or something. And they convinced me that it wasn't a baby yet, that it was just a blob of tissue. And they talked me into an abortion. Well, it was more than I could bear. So I went back to my husband until I got pregnant again. And then I left him and began my life of a mother of two sons, which is pretty common for women to try to undo what they had done. My life kind of spiraled downhill from there, continued making huge mistakes, monumental mistakes. Actually, I can't call them mistakes because I made those choices knowing that I was making those choices.
I got down in a valley that was just really, really bad, dark valley. And I stayed there for about 4 years, and it was really, really tough. Doing all the wrong things, staying out all night, just the typical, bad stuff that you're not supposed to be doing. And I didn't know how I was going to get out of it. And I knew about the Lord. I had been saved, but I just got off track and I couldn't get back on. And I fought it and I fought it and I fought it. And I thought, how am I going to get out of this? And finally one night I just thought to myself, you've got to get things right again, David. You've got to figure something out. And I always tell people that the Lord was walking through the alley one afternoon and he found me in the bottom trash can.
One of the things that kept me in that darkness was believing that I was worthless, that I had committed made so many horrible decisions that there's no way that God could ever accept me. And I was skittish, I was fearful from abuse, abandonment, divorce, abortion. I just felt like there was no way out. But you can't get a whole lot darker than what I was. There's no place you can go that Christ can't redeem you, that he can't give you a new life. But it's like David said, you have to come to that point to where, I was to the point where when I went down the aisle, I said, God, you either kill me or you save me. You prove yourself to me, because I'm done. I'm done.
And when people get in situations that are hopeless, and no matter what, it's marriage or finances or kids or abuse or whatever it is, you're not worthless. Because I got to the point in my life I just thought I was worthless. I wasn't worth anything anymore. And that's a lie. That's a horrible lie. And don't ever believe that, because there's always hope. And that's what we base everything on, is our hope and our faith.
He took all of that bad stuff and he erased it. It's gone. It's as far as the east is from the west. And I am forgiven of every single bit of it. And he has put my feet on the rock. And he has given me a direction. And the thing that I can't be quiet. I tell people in the grocery store, I tell people everywhere I go, I tell people, I'll tell thousands of people at a time what he's done for me, because there is nothing Satan can do to keep you there unless you choose to stay there. But you have to make that decision, and you have to give him a chance. And I guarantee you, if you give him a chance, he'll redeem you too.